This is Recipe for Sleep, a podcast where we dust off very old cookbooks and let them lull us into dreamland. We'd love for you to join our community at thanksalt.com, where I share my own recipes and stories. And if you find this is indeed your recipe for sleep, consider rating and reviewing, or just tell a friend. Hello, I'm Erin Brindley, a chef and storyteller. I find the poetry of old recipes, read aloud, to be the perfect way to quiet my busy brain. Hopefully you will too. In this podcast, I read from cookbooks from the late 18 and early 1900s to you. Tonight, I will start reading 365 dessert recipes, one for every day of the year, published in 1900. The recipes are sweet and old-fashioned confections, perfect to give you dreams of downhill skiing through powdered sugar snow on a mountain of meringue. So, turn the lights out, put away anything you were doing, and snuggle deep into your sweet covers. Imagine the kitchen of your mind. There are two cupboards there. Yesterday's cupboard, for all the things that have already happened that your mind wants to chew on, and tomorrow's cupboard, for all the things you're going to do or what's going to happen later. It's time to put everything away in those cupboards. Imagine closing each one. You made it to this cozy, quiet time of day where there's nothing to do but listen to me read you old cookbooks until you drift off to sleep. Are your pillows perfect? Covers over your shoulder? Take a nice deep breath in, and with the breath out, feel all the tension in your body melting away. 365 desserts. A dessert for every day of the year. Selected from Marion Harland, Mrs. Lincoln, Good Housekeeping, Table Talk, and others. Copyright 1900 by George W. Jacobs and Co. January. Mince pie. 2 pounds lean beef chopped fine. 2 pounds suet chopped fine. 2.5 pounds stoned raisins. 2.5 pounds cleaned currants. 1.5 pounds sliced citron. 1.5 pounds light brown sugar. 1 tablespoon each of powdered cloves, mace, cinnamon, and allspice, seasoned to taste. 1.5 pints brandy. When making the pies, to every 4 tablespoonfuls of mincemeat, add 1 of chopped apple. 2. Velvet cream. 1/2 box gelatin. 1.5 cups sherry wine. 1 lemon, grated rind and juice. 1.5 cups sugar. 1.5 pints cream. Soak the gelatin in the wine, add the lemon and the sugar, and heat all together till the gelatin is dissolved. Then strain and set it away to cool. When nearly cold, but before it begins to stiffen, add the cream. Beat till nearly stiff enough to drop, then pour into molds, and let it remain till stiff as blancmange. Permission of Mrs. M. J. Lincoln. 3. Coconut sponge. Thicken 1 pint of milk, in which is dissolved 3/4 of a cup of sugar with 2 tablespoonfuls of cornstarch. Cook thoroughly in a vessel set into boiling water. When cooked and boiling hot, beat this into the whites of 3 eggs beaten stiff. After standing a few minutes, add 1 cup of grated coconut. Flavor with vanilla and turn into a mold with grated coconut on top. Serve with cream sweetened and flavored with wine. 4. Ginger pudding. 1/8 of a pound of suet chopped fine. 1/2 cup of molasses. 3/4 of a cup of water. 1/2 tablespoonful of ginger. 1/2 teaspoonful of salt. 1/2 teaspoonful of soda dissolved in a little water. Flour enough to thicken. Put the soda in the last thing before the flour. Put in a mold or pudding bag and boil 2 hours. Sauce: 1 tablespoonful of butter, 3 teaspoonsful of sugar, a wine glass of sherry. Beat all to a cream. 5. Potato pie. Boil either white or sweet potatoes until well done. Mash and sift through a coarse wire sieve. To a pint of pulp, add 3 pints of fresh milk, a tablespoonful of melted butter, 2 eggs, a teacupful of sugar, 1/2 teaspoonful of salt, nutmeg or lemon to flavor. Bake it with an undercrust of rich paste. 6. Orange parfait. Whip 1 quart of cream into a stiff froth. Add 1 cupful of granulated sugar to 1 cup of orange juice and stir until the sugar is dissolved. Mix this carefully with the cream, turn into a mold, cover the top with a sheet of greased writing paper, and put on the lid. Pack in salt and ice for 2 hours. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 7. Baked custard. Pour a quart of hot milk over 4 or 5 well-beaten eggs. Add 1 teaspoonful of butter. Season with vanilla, rosewater, or nutmeg, and sweeten to taste. Bake in a cup or pudding form. 8. White grape pie. Line 1 pie dish with an undercrust and bake. Make an orange or lemon jelly from gelatin. When the crust is cool, fill with white grapes. When the jelly is stiff, pour it among and over the grapes. Stand aside until perfectly cold and it is ready to serve. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 9. Delicate pudding. 1 cup water, 1 cup fruit juice, 3 tablespoonfuls cornstarch, half spoonful salt, sugar to taste, 3 eggs. Boil the water in the fruit juice, orange, lemon, or canned cherries, quince, or apricot. Wet the cornstarch in a little cold water. Stir into the boiling syrup and cook 10 minutes. Add salt and sugar to taste, the quantity depending on the fruit. Beat the whites of the eggs until foamy and stir into the starch. Turn at once into a mold. Serve cold with boiled custard sauce made with the yolks of the eggs. Permission of Mrs. M. J. Lincoln. 10. Norfolk cream. Line a mold with 1 pound of candied plums, having first removed the stones, and spread the plums out as thin as possible. Make the plain Bavarian cream, and when thick enough to drop, take out 1/3 and color with cochineal. Add half cup of candied cherries cut in halves. Put a layer of the white cream next to the plums and fill the center with the pink. When ready to serve, Loosen the edges with a knife and invert carefully. Serve with whipped cream. Permission of Mrs. M. J. Lincoln. 11. Paradise pudding. 3 eggs, 1/4 pound breadcrumbs, 3 apples, currants, 1 teaspoonful extract lemon, nutmeg, salt. Mince the apples, beat the eggs, and stir them into the breadcrumbs and other ingredients. Rub the currants in a small quantity of flour before they are put into the mixture. Boil 1 hour and a half. To be eaten hot with sauce. 12. Lemon cream pudding. Beat the yolks of 4 eggs with 4 tablespoonfuls of sugar, the juice and rind of a large lemon, and 2 tablespoonfuls of hot water. Simmer until it thickens. Take from the fire and stir in the whites of 4 eggs beaten stiff with 2 tablespoonfuls of sugar. Turn into a glass dish and serve icy cold. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 13. Polish tartlets. Have ready some little patty pans greased, also an egg beaten, 3/4 of a cupful of milk. Sweeten and stir well, then take 1/4 pound of lard and 1/4 pound of flour. Mix flour with a pinch of salt and moisten with a very little water. Roll out thin. Take 1/4 of the lard and spread. Sprinkle slightly with flour. Roll up and out again 4 times, using lard and flour each time. Line the patty tins and pour in a little milk and egg mixture. Bake very quickly. When taken from the oven with a brush, glaze with 1/2 of the white of an egg and place tiny pieces of jelly in each. Be very speedy in making these. 14. Moonshine pie. Add 2 even tablespoonfuls of powdered sugar to 1 cup of thick sweet cream and stand aside to get very cold but not frozen. Pour the cream into a glass, add the white of an egg, and with No. 1 Keystone egg beater, beat slowly to a froth. Bake the crust, fill with the cream, dot over with jelly or preserved strawberries. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 15. Pomme beurres. Cut stale bread into small square slices. Spread them in a flat baking dish, which must be well buttered. Core some large sour apples and put 1 on each slice of bread. Fill up the hole in the middle of the apples with butter and sugar. Put into the oven, and when partly cooked, draw to the oven door and refill with butter and sugar. Do this 2 or 3 times. When thoroughly baked, serve on a hot, flat dish with whipped cream or soft custard. 16. Sponge pudding. 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup flour, 1 pint milk boiled, 1/4 cup butter, yolks of 5 eggs, whites of 5 eggs. Mix the sugar and the flour, wet with a little cold milk. Stir into the boiling milk. Cook until it thickens and then is smooth. Add the butter, and when well mixed, stir into the well-beaten yolks of the eggs, and then add the whites beaten stiff. Bake in a cup or shallow dish, or in paper case in a hot oven. Place the dish in a pan of hot water while in the oven. Serve with a creamy sauce. Permission of Mrs. M. J. Lincoln. 17. Saratoga pudding. 1/4 of a pound of breadcrumbs, 1/4 of a pound of suet, 1/4 of a pound of currants, 1/4 of a pound of sugar, 3 eggs, lemon peel, 1 teaspoonful extract of nutmeg. Make this into 5 or 6 small cakes. Fry them brown and serve with sweet sauce. 18. Venice pudding. Make the custard of 5 eggs, 1/2 pint milk sweetened to taste, and flavored with 1 teaspoonful lemon. When nearly cold, pour it into a mold. Soak a sponge biscuit and a half in brandy or wine. Let it float on the custard. When quite set, cut some preserved fruit such as pineapple into pieces and drop it into the mold. To be turned out when required. 19. Boston pudding. 1 pound raisins, 1 pound currants, 1 pound suet, 1 pound breadcrumbs, 1/2 pound moist sugar, 8 eggs, 1 tablespoonful flour, 1/4 cup mixed candied fruit, 1 wineglass brandy, 1 teaspoonful each of extract of lemon, almond, nutmeg and cloves, and a little mace. Stone and shred the raisins rather small. Chop the suet finely and rub the bread until all the lumps are well broken. Cut the candied fruit into thin shreds and mix all these ingredients well together, adding the sugar. Beat the eggs to a strong froth, and as they are beaten, drop in the extracts. Stir them into the dry ingredients, mix well, and add the brandy. Tie the pudding firmly in a cloth and boil for 6 hours. Serve with a sweet sauce. 20. Fritters with lemon sauce. Beat the yolks of 2 eggs light. Add 1/2 cup of milk, 1 saltspoonful of salt, and a cup of flour. Beat well. Add 1 tablespoonful olive oil and 1 teaspoonful lemon juice. Beat the whites of the egg to a stiff froth. Mix with the batter. Beat again. Fry by the spoonful in deep, hot fat. Serve with lemon sauce. Lemon sauce. Beat to a cream 1½ cups of sugar and 3/4 cup of butter. Add 1 egg, beaten light, and the juice of 2 lemons. Beat together thoroughly. Put in the farina boiler. Add 1½ cups boiling water, gradually stirring all the while. Serve at once. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 21. Chocolate pie. Scald 1 pint of milk. Dissolve 3 level tablespoonfuls of cornstarch in a very cold water. Beat the yolks of 2 eggs with 3 tablespoonfuls of sugar until light. Add to this the cornstarch and 3 tablespoonfuls of grated chocolate dissolved over hot water. Stir this into the scalding milk until it thickens. Take from the fire, add 1 teaspoonful of vanilla, and cool. Line a pie plate with crust and bake. Then, fill with the custard and cover with a meringue made of the whites of the eggs and 2 tablespoonfuls powdered sugar, and brown in a quick oven. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 22. Yankee Puffs. 2 ounces butter, 3 tablespoonfuls sugar, 3 eggs, whites and yolks separate, 3 teaspoonfuls milk, 3 teaspoonfuls flour, 1 saltspoonful salt, 1½ teaspoonfuls vanilla. Beat the butter to a cream and add the sugar and well-beaten yolk, then the milk, which should be salted. Dredge in the flour by degrees, and when they are well mixed, add the flavoring and the whites of eggs previously beaten to a stiff froth. Bake in well-buttered teacups about 15 or 20 minutes till of a light brown. As the puffs rise very much, the cups must not be filled. Serve as soon as done with a sweet sauce. 23. Caramel custards. Beat the yolks of 6 eggs until very light with ½ cup of granulated sugar. Add gradually to this 1 quart of milk, 1/2 teaspoonful of salt, and 3 teaspoonfuls of caramel. Turn into the custard cups. Place them in a pan containing boiling water. Bake in a moderate oven until set. The success of the custards depends upon the baking, and they must be watched carefully so as to remove them from the oven as soon as they are properly set. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 24. Liffey pudding. 1/2 pound apples chopped very fine, the yolks of 5 eggs well beaten, juice of 1 lemon with rind grated, 3 ounces melted butter, 1/4 pound sugar, fine. The butter must be put in after all of the other ingredients are well mixed, to be baked with the rim of puff paste around the edge of the dish. 25. Macaroni pudding. 1 cup of macaroni broken into inch lengths, 1 quart of milk, 4 eggs, ½ of a lemon juice and grated peel, 2 tablespoonfuls butter, 3/4 cup of sugar. Simmer the macaroni in half the milk until tender. When hot, stir in the butter, the yolks well beaten up with the sugar, the lemon, and lastly the whipped whites. Bake in a buttered mold about ½ hour or until nicely browned. From Common Sense in the Household, Marion Harland, copyright by Charles Scribner's Sons. 26. Fried apple pies. Stew 1 quart dried apples and 1 lemon together. Sweeten to taste. Add a little salt but no spice. For crust, use 1 tablespoonful of lard, 1 quart flour, 1 tablespoonful yeast, and water to form a stiff batter. Let it stand overnight or until light. When desired for use, add a very little soda and knead, not very stiff. Roll out the crust. Cut in rounds with a saucer. Lay a spoonful of apple on half. Fold the other over. Trim the edges carefully and fry in hot lard. 27. Orange custard. Scald 1 pint of milk. Beat the yolks of 3 eggs light with 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. Slowly pour the milk on the eggs, beating all the while, and when well mixed, put back into the farina boiler with the chippings of the rind of the orange. Cook for 2 minutes or until smooth and thick, stirring constantly. Add the juice of 2 oranges, strain, and put away to cool. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 28. Apricot Bavarian cream. Cover ½ box of gelatin with ½ cup of cold water and stand aside for half hour. Press 1 can of apricots through a colander. Whip 1 quart cream. Now, stir the gelatin over boiling water until it is dissolved. Then strain it into the apricots, mix, and turn into a tin basin. Stand the basin in a pan of ice water or snow and stir constantly and slowly around the sides and bottom of the pan until the mixture begins to thicken. Then add carefully half the whipped cream, mix carefully, turn into a mold, and stand away to harden. Serve with whipped cream around the mold after it has been turned out into a pretty dish. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 29. Snowballs number 1. Beat the yolks of 3 eggs light. Then add gradually 1 cup of granulated sugar, heating all the while. When very light, add 2 tablespoonfuls of milk, 1 cup of flour, and beat again. Beat the whites of the eggs to a stiff, dry froth. Add quickly to the batter with 1 rounded teaspoonful of baking powder. Fill well-buttered cups, 2/3 full, and bake for 20 minutes. Roll in powdered sugar and serve with sauce. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 30. Queen pudding. 1 quart of milk, 1 3/4 cupfuls of breadcrumbs, yolks of 4 beaten eggs and sugar to taste. Bake until done, taking care not to have it watery. Whip the whites of 4 eggs and a tablespoonful of sugar and flavor with lemon. Spread over the pudding a layer of sweetmeats or jelly, then cover with the whites of the eggs and brown lightly. Serve cold with cream. 31. Cornstarch pudding. Boil 1 quart of milk, then beat the yolks of 4 eggs with 4 tablespoonfuls of cornstarch and a little milk. Flavor to taste. Turn into a pudding dish and bake. Beat the whites of 4 eggs to a stiff froth. Add 4 tablespoonfuls powdered sugar. Flavor a little and cover the pudding with the mixture. Set in the oven and brown slightly. February. 1. Fruit charlotte. 1/2 box gelatin, 1/2 cup cold water, 1 cup juice or 1 pint orange juice and 1 cup water. Yolks of 4 eggs, whites of 4 eggs, 1 dozen ladyfingers. Soak gelatin in cold water till soft. Make a syrup with the sugar and the fruit juice. When boiling, pour it into the beaten yolks of the eggs. Stir well and cook in a double boiler until it thickens. Add the soaked gelatin. Stir till dissolved, and strain at once into a granite pan placed in ice water. Beat occasionally till cold, but not hard. Beat the whites of the eggs to a stiff froth, and then beat all together till it thickens. When almost stiff enough to drop, pour at once into molds lined with cake. Keep on ice and serve with or without powdered sugar and cream. Vary the fruits by stewing 1 pound of canned peaches, pineapple, or apricots in 1 cup of sugar and water till soft. Then sift. Add the yolks of the eggs and cook till it thickens. Add the gelatin, strain, and when cool, add the whites. Grated pineapple will not require sifting. Permission of Mrs. M. J. Lincoln. 2. Cream pudding. Set 1 pint of milk to boil. Wet 2 tablespoonfuls of cornstarch with cold water. Stir carefully into the boiling milk. Add a very little speck of salt and 5 drops of vanilla. Turn into 4 fancy patty pans and set to cool until firm and hard. If made in the morning, they will be cool for dinner. For the sauce, 1 cup of milk, 2/3 of a cup of powdered sugar, 5 drops of vanilla. When the pudding is firm and cold, turn out onto a platter, put a piece of currant jelly on top of each, and pour the sauce around them. Double this recipe if for more than 2 people. 3. Gâteau de Princesse Louise. Bake sponge drop mixture or feather cake or snow cake in jelly tin. Cut the center from one cake, leaving a rim 1.5 inches wide. Put jelly on the remaining cake, lay the rim on the edge, and fill the center with Bavarian cream. Garnish with candied fruit. Frost the rim if you prefer. By permission of Mrs. M. J. Lincoln. 4. Orange pie. Beat a cupful of powdered sugar and a large tablespoonful of butter together until light. Moisten 2 even tablespoonfuls of cornstarch with a little cold milk. Cook and stir 1 minute, then pour quickly on the butter and sugar. Add the grated yellow rind and the juice of an orange. Mix and add 1 egg well beaten. Peel another large juicy orange. Cut into thin slices and then cut each slice into quarters. Line a Washington pie plate with light paste and bake in a quick oven until done. Stir the orange slices quickly into the custard mixture. Fill the baked crust with this and place in a quick oven a few minutes to brown. While it is browning, beat the whites of 2 eggs until light. Add 2 tablespoonfuls of powdered sugar and beat until stiff. Spread this over the pie. Dust thickly with powdered sugar and stand again in an oven until light brown. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 5. Apple manioca pudding. Soak 2 tablespoonfuls of manioca in the dish in which it is to be baked. Add 2 tablespoonfuls of sugar and let it soak 15 minutes. Pare and core 4 good-sized apples. Fill with sugar and ground cinnamon. Put them in the manioca and bake until the apples are done. Serve warm, not hot. 6. Fig custard pudding. 1/2 pound good figs, 1 pint milk, yolks of 2 eggs, white of 1, if large, 1.5 ounces gelatin soaked in cold water, 1/2 cup sweet fruit jelly slightly warmed, 2 teaspoonfuls vanilla, white sifted flour. Soak the figs in warm water until quite soft. Split them, dip each piece in jelly, and line a buttered mold. Heat the milk and stir into it the well-beaten yolks and sugar. Return it to the saucepan and cook until it thickens. Melt the soaked gelatin by adding a tablespoonful of boiling water and put it into a vessel of boiling water. When it is quite melted, add it to the milk, and when well mixed, set it to cool. As soon as it begins to congeal, whisk it thoroughly with an egg beater and add to it gradually the white of an egg beaten to a stiff froth. Beat it rapidly and thoroughly till quite spongy, and fill the fig-lined mold. Set in a cool place till quite firm, 5 or 6 hours at least. 7. Baked custard. 1 quart of milk, 5 eggs, 6 heaping tablespoonfuls of sugar, half of a nutmeg. Stir all well together. Put in a baking dish and bake until you can stick in the blade of a knife and it comes out dry, about ½ hour. 8. Boiled rice pudding. 1/4 of a pound of rice flour, rather more than a pint of milk, sugar to taste, 1 teaspoonful each of extract and cinnamon and lemon. Mix the rice flour with a little cold milk. Pour upon it a pint of boiling milk which has been flavored. Sweeten to taste with loaf sugar. Boil gently until it thickens, stirring all the time. Place in a mold till cold. Serve on a glass dish and ornament with raspberry preserve. 9. Cranberry shape. Boil some cranberries with sugar in water till reduced to a pulp. Take a plain mold, cut a slice of bread 1/4 inch thick and butter it. Lay it in the bottom of the mold. Cut strips of bread like ladyfingers and arrange closely around the sides of the mold. Then mash the stewed cranberries through a colander into the mold till full. Cover with a slice of buttered bread, butter side down. When quite cold, it should turn out solid. Serve with cream, whipped or plain. 1 quart of cranberries is enough for 1 pint mold. 10. Brooklyn pudding. 3 eggs, 3 tablespoonfuls of flour, ½ pint cream or milk, 3 teaspoonfuls extract of orange, 2 ounces white sugar. Beat all together and pour into buttered cups. Half fill the cups and set them in a gentle oven. They should bake in a ½ hour. 11. Chicago pudding. 4 eggs, 1½ pints milk, 1 tablespoonful of sugar, 3 teaspoonfuls vanilla, bread and butter, marmalade, 1 pint boiled custard. Cut thin slices of bread and butter, spread them with marmalade. Place in a buttered pie dish until half full. Gradually pour over them a hot custard made of milk, heated almost to boiling. Then take from the fire and add the beaten eggs and sugar, stirred in with the flavoring. Place a small plate on top to prevent the bread from rising and let it soak ½ hour. Grate a little nutmeg on top and bake, and when done, turn it out of the dish and pour over a pint of boiled custard. It is good hot or cold. 12. Rice soufflé with apples. Mash ½ cup of rice. Throw it into a kettle of boiling water. Boil rapidly for 10 minutes. Drain. Put it in a double boiler. Add 1 pint of milk and cook it for ½ hour. While this is cooking, pare and remove the cores from 6 tart apples. Put them in a basin, add a cup of water, and stand them in the oven to cook for 30 minutes or until tender. When done, lift them carefully and put them in a serving dish. Take the rice from the fire, add ½ cup of sugar, and stir in well-beaten whites of 4 eggs. Add the grated rind of a lemon and put this in and around the apples. Serve icy cold with a soft custard made from a pint of milk, yolks of the eggs, and 4 tablespoonfuls of sugar. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 13. Maize pudding. To 2 cupfuls of cold hominy, add 3 cupfuls of chopped apples, 2 teaspoonfuls extract of lemon, 1/3 of a cup of sugar, 2/3 cup Zante currants. Mix very thoroughly to avoid any lumps of cold hominy. Bake 1 hour or more in a moderate oven or until a light brown. Serve cold. Baked Indian pudding. 1 quart of milk heated, 1 cup molasses, 7 tablespoonfuls Indian meal, ½ cup sugar, butter the size of an egg, and 2 eggs. Beat well together with some raisins and a little cinnamon, and then pour heated milk into it. Set into the oven until it bubbles, stirring occasionally. Take it out and beat every lump out, adding 1 pint of cold milk. Put in a pudding dish and bake 1 hour in a rather slow oven. 15. Variety jelly. Dissolve 1/4 of a box of gelatin in 1 pint of boiling water. Add the juice of 1 large lemon and 1 cup of sugar. When cold, strain into a glass dish. Prepare 1 orange and bananas. Remove the skin from the orange and tear into sections. Take out the seeds and white fibers and place at intervals in the jelly. The bananas may be cut in thick slices and filled in between the orange. When cold and stiff, serve with whipped cream on top. 16. Mock mince pie. Seed and chop 1 cup of raisins. Roll 2 round water crackers until rather fine. Chip 2 ounces of citron and wash and dry 1/2 cup of currants. Mix all these ingredients together and add 1/4 teaspoonful salt, juice and rind of 1 lemon, 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of cider, 2/3 cup of molasses, 1 egg well beaten, a teaspoonful of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoonful of cloves, and a grating of nutmeg. Mix all well together and bake the same as mince pie. 17. Chocolate soufflé. Grate 1 ounce of chocolate and mix it with the yolk of 3 eggs and 2 ounces of powdered sugar. Beat the whites to a stiff froth. Gently stir the whites into the above mixture. Put it by the tablespoonful in a soufflé pan and bake a golden brown in a moderate oven. Dust it with the powdered sugar when it is done, or it will fall. 18. Lemon trifle. 1 large sponge cake, sliced, 1 quart milk, 3 eggs, whites and yolks separate, 5 large tablespoonfuls extract of lemon, 1/2 cup of the rind of a lemon finely grated. Arrange the cake in a deep glass dish. Pour upon it a teaspoonful of hot milk to soak it. Beat the yolks of the eggs and stir with them 4 tablespoonfuls of sugar. Heat the rest of the milk and pour it upon the eggs by degrees, stirring it all the while. Return it to the saucepan and stir until it thickens. Let it cool a little, add the flavoring, and pour over the sponge cake. When quite cold and just before serving, heap onto it a meringue made from the whites of eggs beaten to a stiff froth, flavored with extract of lemon and rind. The latter should be made just before it's served. 19. Uncle Joe's pudding. The remains of cold plum pudding or plum cake, brandy, custard made with 5 eggs to each pint of milk. Cut the pudding or cake into finger pieces. Soak them in the brandy and lay them cross-barred in a mold until full. Make a custard with above proportions of milk and egg. Fill up the mold, tie it down with a cloth, boil or steam 1 hour. Serve with sauce. 20. Chocolate pudding. 1 quart sweet milk, 3 ounces grated chocolate, 1 cup sugar, yolks of 5 eggs. Scald milk and chocolate together. When cool, add sugar and eggs. After it is baked, beat whites of eggs and 5 tablespoonfuls sugar and spread on the top and brown in the oven. 21. Omelette soufflé. Separate 6 eggs. Beat the whites to a very stiff froth. Beat 3 yolks. Add them to the whites, and then dust over 3 tablespoonfuls powdered sugar. Add the grated yellow rind and the juice of 1/2 lemon. Now, with a wire egg beater, mix the whole as quickly and carefully as possible. One mixing should do the work. Add all the ingredients to the whites and do not mix until the last is added so that one mixing will answer. Otherwise, the soufflé will be tough. Just as soon as it is mixed, heap it into a baking dish, dust it thickly with powdered sugar, and bake in a quick oven 10 or 15 minutes. As soon as it is nicely browned, it is sufficiently cooked. Serve at once. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 22. Lemon sponge. Cover half box of gelatin with half cup cold water and let stand for 1 hour. Dissolve over hot water. Beat the yolks of 4 eggs light with 2 cups of granulated sugar. Add the juice of 2 good lemons, and when well mixed, add 1½ cups of water. Put the mixture over the fire, stir and cook until it begins to thicken. Take from the fire, add the gelatin, and strain the mixture into a bowl. Set the bowl into a pan of cracked ice. When it begins to thicken, add the whites of 2 eggs, beaten to a stiff froth, and beat until the mixture is smooth and frothy. Turn into a wet mold and stand away to harden. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 23. Little Princess Pudding. 6 large apples pared and chopped. 6 large spoonfuls grated breadcrumbs. 6 tablespoonfuls sugar. 6 of currants. 6 eggs. A wineglass of wine or dissolved jelly. Teaspoonful extract of nutmeg, cinnamon, and cloves. 1/4 pound butter. 3 tablespoonfuls flour. Put in a pudding mold or tin basket and boil 3 hours. 24. Apples and rice. Select 6 ordinarily sized apples. Pare and core them. Put them in a baking dish and sprinkle over a cup of sugar and the juice of a lemon, or better still, half tumbler of quince jelly. Add a gill of water and bake the apples for 30 minutes or until they are tender. When done, dish them onto a round dish and have ready 1 cup rice well boiled and dry. Fill this into the core. Heap the remaining quantity of rice around the apples. Pour over a soft custard and serve. This may be dished in many different ways. For instance, the rice may form a base for the apples in a pyramid. The custard then poured in the dish around the base of the dessert. 25. Prune pudding. Soak 1 pound of prunes overnight. In the morning, remove the stones. Put the prunes in a porcelain-lined kettle with sufficient water to prevent burning. Cover the kettle and cook slowly on the back part of the stove until the prunes are perfectly tender. This will take about an hour. Then add a cup of sugar and stand aside to cool. When cold, press through a colander until a smooth pulp. Beat the whites of 3 eggs to a stiff froth. Add them to the prunes. Have 1/4 of a box of gelatin soaked for ½ hour in ½ cup of cold water. Stand this over the fire until the gelatin is dissolved. Stir into the prunes with the whites of eggs. Turn into a mold and stand away to harden. Turn onto a dish and serve with soft custard. From Table Talk, Philadelphia. 26. Mock Cantaloupe. Mold the yellow Bavarian cream in a melon mold lined with ladyfingers, and when ready to serve, turn out on a dish and sprinkle top of the cream thickly with chopped pistachio nuts or any green fruit, plums, or angelica. Garnish with whipped cream and candied fruit. Mrs. M. J. Lincoln. 27. Dried apple pies. Soak the apples. Put them in a brown earthen pot. Cover them with water. Cover the pot and bake 4 or 5 hours. Sweeten with sugar or molasses the last half hour and mash well with a spoon. When the apples are thoroughly cooked, flavor with lemon juice and a little butter. The pie can be baked between 2 crusts, or bands of the paste can be placed over the top. 28. Chantilly baskets. Dip the edges of soft, flexible macaroons in syrup, prepared as for crystallized fruit, and form thence into a basket on a fancy plate. Something as children make a burr basket. A rim and handle of pasteboard to add in keeping the shape. When dry, fill with fancy Bavarian cream. Mrs. M. J. Lincoln. Sweet dreams.